and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.
The FDA is about to get a lot more muscle.
More money and more power.
Sweeping new powers.
The most sweeping overhaul of the nation's food safety laws since the 1930s.
Robert Scott Bell.
If you like the efficiency of the post office, the competence of FEMA, and the compassion of the IRS, we will love the nationalized health care bill.
Robert Scott Bell.
The British Medical Journal accused a researcher, Andrew Wakefield, of outright fraud.
People need to look at the details and not look at the headlines.
This is like Salem, the visceral response that they're trying to whip up in the public to try and crush this dissent.
Enough is enough.
Taking on bureaucrats and corporations that would stand in the way of health freedom and making sense out of medical propaganda. The voice of health, freedom, and liberty, Robert Scott Bell.
Very exciting way to start our Tuesday here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Healing revolutions happen not just on Fridays, but the fact that people apply principles that we talk about here, get the products that I believe in and utilize and trust, and the people I bring to you. And I'm grateful that some of you are willing to come on with me to talk about your healing experiences from time to time. Today, I've got my dear friend Stephen Hewer, naturopath. He's from One World Whey. You got oneworldwhey.com, and I've talked about the glutathione enhancing and much more benefits of utilizing undenatured whey protein, and I don't think everybody gets it as well as I'd like them to. So I'm going to kick it off today with Stephen Hewer right here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Stephen, welcome back.
Thanks, Robert. Appreciate the opportunity to share.
Always a great time when we get together because your heart's in the right place, getting the good stuff out, because we've told your story. You've told your story here on the air as well, and you can go back and listen to the archives. But this product in particular was one of the more profound that I found from a nutrition and an enhancing and detox pathway opening perspective. But I don't think people really understand the significance of it and the fact that it can do some of these things that we talk about. And that's why I always like to bring people on from time to time when they're willing to do so.
Yeah, actually, over the last 2 years that we've actually been making the One World Whey available to the people of this country, we've had a number of very positive, very exciting people, case histories, people calling in, sharing their experiences voluntarily and freely, and I've recorded them and put them into my own website in the testimonial section. They're archived either as a recording or as a written testimony. But they're so exciting and worth other people hearing about that I'm really grateful for the opportunity for you to allow us to bring on 4 of them today in this show, because what people really don't understand about whey protein and or undenatured whey proteins in general is because every structure of your body is a protein water-based structure, that there's so many benefits that can happen. So it doesn't matter what your particular health challenges might be, there is the need for metabolic enzyme production, for energy creation, for detoxification pathways, for the creation of all your particular chemicals, whether they be immunoglobulins or neurotransmitters or blood sugar regulation. There's just a plethora of physiological events that are all protein-dependent functions, and I was really quite excited and amazed at the results that this particular whey protein started to get for me personally and for clients, and it's just become cumulative. There's been so many now positive reports that it's really nice for us to share with your listeners that you don't look at whey protein just as a bodybuilding product. It's not. Yes. There's just a broad spectrum of benefits, and today we're going to actually take time to talk to 4 of them to hear those. Each has a unique and different story to share, and they're really quite impressive to hear.
Well, this is a show, if not dedicated to healing, then dedicated to nothing. That's what this is all about. And, of course, we talk about some irreverent topics as well and news of the day. But from time to time, to really drill down on some of these things that can be done, people can hear a message in a way that, we can talk science, and you do as well as I do, about the pathways, and it's exciting to us, but some people will glaze over and go, okay, that's really nice, but really, what is it going to do for me? And so if we talk about enhancing glutathione production, it's like, I know a lot of people go, all right, that sounds really fancy, but they really don't get the benefit of it in those terms. But if we talk about energy, I get energy is something that does make sense to people, because when you know you're out of energy, you know you're out of energy. And but they also don't realize that you don't need caffeine to pump up your energy as well.
Yeah, and just any food in particular can be used to either stimulate or sedate, depending upon what kind of food it is and how it's prepared, and that you instead want to nourish and energize from a place of nourishment as opposed to stimulation or sedation, and that this is what helps do that. And so I just keep on stressing to people that protein is a very important substance, especially in today's age, because our bodies are experiencing such a tremendous amount of exposure to toxins in the environment, whether it be, unfortunately, I think the chemtrails I've been seeing in the sky are reducing, but nonetheless, that is an issue that still we contend with. So there's some degree of atmospheric pollution coming directly from the skies, and environmentally, just from industrial pollution, whether it be, cadmium, mercury, arsenic, whatever, that and then just other factors, stress factors, and all those things have to be detoxified. Otherwise, they will bog down the energy pathways, the metabolic pathways that make energy, and you will go from being a vital person to a low-energy person, a tendency to depression, just because you don't produce enough energy. So if we could upregulate the body's ability to get rid of all that stuff, which is what the One World Whey does, then you open up all the pathways for energy and cheerfulness, productivity, beauty, everything you want about quality of life returns when you can get the body, when you get the toxins out of the body and the ability to produce energy come back.
Yeah, it's simple when you talk about your food as your medicine and your medicine as your food. We covered a story last week, Stephen, about there was these crazy mad scientists. They say, oh, look, we found that protein can help the immune system, right? They were talking about influenza. But guess what they did? We're going to synthesize a protein and show you how I'm like, dude, just do some undenatured whey. You're going to help your immune system too.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, a lot of the studies that have been done, unfortunately, take it off in a direction that's so far in left field it's not even in reality, and they call these actually valid information, like taking pure vitamin A and doing a study on that, as opposed to the way vitamin A occurs in nature is usually with vitamin D and the balanced effect that those things have, or taking the petroleum byproduct of the Kodak film industry that they call vitamin E and do vitamin E studies that's not vitamin E and say there's been deleterious effects from vitamin E usage, but in reality it was never vitamin E they did in the study, using the study.
Yeah, that's a very important point to make. When we read all of these studies that denigrate natural products, they're not denigrating the true natural, although we know natural is not really regulated, so it's kind of an ill-defined term. It sounds good, but it doesn't mean much anymore. So we look at these studies and we recognize, and we do that here on the show, to pull out and say, okay, what were they really looking at? Were they looking at a food, or were they looking at something from Kodak? That's a great point, or BASF in Germany.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, there's a lot of things I've read. Most of these studies, to me, are really slanted, really skewed, and really inaccurate and not even worth having available, since they just mislead people. Yeah, people just need to get back to letting nature be their teacher, and just remembering that it starts with soil fertility, and with soil fertility, then all the plants and all the animals raised on that fertile soil end up being both food and medicine for the human body. And hence, one of the things about One World Whey that most people don't know is that the inventor took time to research where the most nutrient-dense grass was that was grown in any particular farming area, and he found this one particular farm. He analyzed many grass throughout the entire country, different farmers' operations for their grass, dairy-based grass cow operations. Yes, and found this particular farm to have the most nutrient-dense, the most chloroplast-rich grass anywhere that he had ever found, and correspondingly, the milk was the most healthiest as a consequence, coming from these Jersey cows. We actually started at the soil level and the grass level with regards to choosing the source of our milk before we proceeded any other direction, and that's another reason why One World Whey embodies being both a food and medicine that nature intended to confer to people from what she gives to us from whether it be plant or animal food. That's
an interesting thing you bring up. We hadn't talked about that aspect of it. It's like, why one let's say, milk, or one food may be more potent within the same category of foods, because if you're not assessing the soils, you talk about soil fertility, you talk about what grows in that soil, it matters because the properties of whatever you're going to eat are only reflective of or coming from what was in or what was not in that soil. So it's fascinating that it went. I'm not surprised, based on what I've seen with the One World Whey, that you would go to a place where you'd have the richest, let's say, base product for which the cows to eat, and then, of course, that benefit is conferred on all of us.
Yeah, and I remember reading in the book by Francis Pottinger, which chronicled his study of 10 years on 900 cats, where they were divided into 4 groups, and they were fed raw milk and raw meat, or cooked milk and cooked meat, or variations of raw milk and cooked meat, or cooked milk and raw meat. And he found that the ones 100% on raw did really well from generation to generation, and those that were on 100% cooked went sterile by the 3rd generation, and those on variations of raw and cooked did, pretty good considering they had some raw in their diet. But in all those studies, he said that there was milk being used from cows that were raised on the agricultural wastes and hay and low quality feed, and the milk they produced was of almost is just as low a value as the heat sterilized or heat damaged milk that the other kittens were getting sick on, or the cats were getting sick on, from the pasteurized milk. It was the same effect almost from the low-quality raw milk from cows fed very low-quality feed. And same thing with when they made adrenal glandular extract, they said that they could not get the results of the adrenal cortical extract that they used to use, derived from animal adrenal glands. They could not get the results that they would get because the cows were being fed on this low-quality diet, so their actual adrenal glands were of such low quality that they didn't have enough of the actual beneficial properties to produce good adrenal cortical extract. So diet makes a difference, or I should say soil, and then the vegetation growing on that soil makes the magical difference between how healthy the animal or the humans are. Yeah,
well, if you want to know the backstory as to why I endorse the One World Whey here, this is the day. Stephen Hewer, my guest, oneworldwhey.com. We're going to get some of those that have been impacted positively and healed from utilizing this and all the good principles that we espouse here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Let's see if we can get Bruno up. He's in Canada, and he's been using the One World Whey. Stephen, what's the story on Bruno?
Bruno. Hey, I met him over a year ago via the phone, and Bruno, he lives up in Canada, and he's quite the physical athlete in my opinion. And he had a really exciting experience, and he shared with me his age and what happened, the changes that happened for him while he was on the way, both physical changes and then the level of benefit he got with his athletic activity. So, Bruno, welcome, and share with us all what that story was, where you're at now, and all that.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me on. About a year ago, I hurt my knee. I actually blew out some ligaments in my knee, and so I had to start physiotherapy. Luckily, I didn't have to have an operation, so I had to have physiotherapy. And so I did that, and then the doctor said, well, just continue to exercise. And so I looked for something to take before I exercised so that I wouldn't be hungry while I was working out, that I would have some energy. And I came across One World Whey, and I started to use it. And I found that when I did use it, it gave me lots of energy. I wasn't hungry when I was exercising, but at the same time, it didn't bloat me. So I started to use it for 1 week, 2 weeks, and then I found that not only could I would ride 45 kilometers in the morning, and then I would come home. I would take One World Whey before I rode, ride 45 kilometers, then take another serving of One World Whey, and then go to the gym and lift weights for another hour and a half. So I was working out for over 3 hours a day. And before I came across One World Whey, I have to be honest, I wasn't able to do that. So not only did my knee, it's completely 100% now, but I found that I was exercising way more than I could before, because One World Whey helps me to recover quickly. And so the next day when I go to exercise 3 hours a day, I have the energy, I'm not tired, I have the stamina to do it.
It sounds to me, Bruno, that there was aspects of promotion of repair here, because, Stephen, this guy was injured seriously when he started this.
Yeah, that is one factor, but the other factor is that the level of exercise that he would actually engage in regularly prior to that. Bruno, didn't you say that you would actually maybe bike, 3 days a week instead of every day?
Oh, I could never bike every day. I would work out maybe once. I would ride my bike. It would be taxing for me to go like 43 kilometers or 45 kilometers. Then the next day I would have to take a break. Now I ride that no problem. Actually, I get my rides up to about 47 or 50K. And I wouldn't go to the gym after a ride like before I came across One World Whey. I would just do my ride, and then the next day I'd have to recoup.
Yeah.
And then I would go 2 days later. Now I can go to the gym every day and work out. Plus,
so you definitely noticed a difference in your pattern. It doesn't sound like it's even subtle at all.
And I didn't even tell anyone I was taking One World Whey. I just, I'll just do my thing and I'll see if people see results. Well, one time my friend called and my wife picked up the phone, and this was like a year after, or like 9 months after I'd been using One World Whey. And so my friend says, where's Bruno? Oh, he's on the couch watching TV. He's eating such and such. And the guy says to her, he shouldn't eat that because, that's going to make him fat. It has a high cholesterol count, which it really didn't. But anyways, my wife said, no, he doesn't have any fat on him anymore. In fact, he's got more muscle than when he was in his early 20s when I first met him.
Nice.
Yeah, so you basically, your physique changed considerably in terms of that you got chiseled out and your physique looked like, you're how old now?
I'm 52.
52, but nice. You regained your physique that you had in your early 20s while being on the whey protein. That was quite noticeable. Your wife commented that way, right?
Yeah, well, just think of it. I just wanted to take something that would give me energy so that when I went out and did my exercise, I wasn't tired, I wasn't hungry. And so I come across this. It's completely organic. It tastes fabulous. And on top of that, it built muscle and it leaned me out. Like in the course of the year, and I wasn't looking to lose weight, believe me. I was 163 pounds. I lost 15 pounds.
Bruno, listen, this is so impressive. I'm going to start taking it. No, I'm just kidding. I've been taking it. Listen, I appreciate, Bruno, you sharing the story. We've got lots more healing we got to do today on the Robert Scott Bell Show. And, we talk about the athletes out there that are looking for something that's legitimate, that's not loaded with synthetic chemicals.
Exactly.
That is what you're doing. And, Bruno, I'm glad you connected with Stephen Hewer to get this thing going, and very impressed at 52.
Hey, my only regret is that, I didn't come across it 10, 15 years earlier.
Yeah, it wasn't existing then, but...
yeah.
All right, thank you, Bruno.
Appreciate it, Bruno. Listen, we're gonna come back with lots more healing and healing stories. Stephen Hewer is my guest this hour from One World Whey. You're listening to the Robert Scott Bell Show. Check all the links out at robertscottbell.com. We'll give you a toll-free number after the break as well if you want to plug into the things Bruno has done, as well as a few others that we're going to hear from after this.
The information is so good, it requires no expiration date. The Robert Scott Bell Show.
Special healing edition of the Robert Scott Bell Show. We do healing all the time, but not every day do I get access to people that have been healed by the things we talk about here, the products we utilize here. And Stephen Hewer is my dear friend, and he is our key guest here this hour as we bring on some of these people that were helped by the whey protein that is undenatured, known as One World Whey. You can check it out, oneworldwhey.com. The link is at robertscottbell.com right now. During the breaks or after the show, you can give them a call at 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Now, Stephen, we just talked to someone who's like a real athlete, even though at 52, the amazing recovery he had. But what about moms and kids and things like that? I mean, that's always an inspiring part of this. Of course, my kids love the One World Whey as well, but there are a lot of kids that are damaged by vaccines, antibiotics as well. We've got to integrate that as well.
Yeah, so I'm really happy to bring on to the show here and have her share her results is Angie Borden. I met her probably well over a year ago via the phone, and her personal experience. Angie, I'd like you to share with everyone, I guess, first off, your age, and then prior to being on this One World Whey, what your symptoms were, and then what happened while you were on the whey and the transformation that happened for you in your feet and all the things you talked about with me, and then go into sharing with us what happened for your 2 4-year-old children that had been damaged by vaccines, starting with your boy first and then proceeding to your daughter. Share with us in that sequence, if you would.
Okay. Well, hi. This is Angie. Right now, I'm a 42-year-old mom, single, and to be quite honest, it's not an easy life. But just to let you know, when I first talked to you last year, you asked me about the whey, and I said I would try it. Well, after I got on the whey, I started noticing results. First of all, I'm a diabetic of 35 years, and I had neuropathy in my feet, and it was very painful.
But let's make a distinction.
Oh.
Which type of diabetic are you?
I'm a type 1 diabetic.
So
I've had it since I was a child. So
okay.
Wow, this is difficult. I have a dear friend of mine that also is type 1, and he's managed it through diet and other things, but there's a lot of obstacles to optimal health for you, Angie.
Yes, well, it actually made it harder after I had twins.
Wow.
Which is why they also had some problems also.
Mm-hmm.
But I know once I got on the way, before I got on the way, actually, I had blood sugar problems. My blood sugar would fall, and I would have just drop out of nowhere. My feet were, painful, and there were times when I didn't get any exercise whatsoever. So it was hard to manage, basically. Very, very difficult.
Well, Angie, one of the things with a lot of these products out on the market, they'll often be loaded with sweeteners and things, if they're sugars or not. Sometimes they're artificial, whereas what I use with the One World Whey, what I love it so much, it's only stevia, so there's no glycemic impact at all.
Oh, yeah. That's actually after I got on, and I realized stevia is the only way to go. Actually, I realized there was no major rise in my blood sugar, so I started using it for everything. And actually, I put it in all of my kids' stuff, too. So I actually, I use stevia day in, day out right now.
Cool. Well, what was it?
Because it's the best sweetener out there.
Angie, what was it? I mean, you talked about different aches and pains and different things. When you got on the One World Whey, you're adding the powder to water, to juice, to milk. What were you adding it to, and how were you taking it?
Actually, first, I just did it with water because I didn't know how it would react with me.
Yeah.
So at first, I was taking it for a couple weeks, and then I noticed major differences I started getting energy. I could think clear. I could manage my kids a heck of a lot better. I was actually being able to get involved with more school activities with them, and I wasn't in pain very much. Also, the pain in my feet left. It just disappeared. I had neck pain.
That resulted in you being able to play with your kids again. You said you could actually start to run around with them again.
I did, and we live right behind golf courses right behind us. So I get to run with them almost 3-4 times a week on the golf course, and they love it because they've never really saw me like that before. It was quite amazing, even though I'm young, but I'm not as young as I used to be.
Right.
Well, the pain in your feet went away, so now you can play with them, and that's what people need to hear is that you had some, restoration to your health, and that was only happened after you were on the whey protein for a period of time.
Oh yes, correct. It actually took away a lot of neck pain also.
Mm-hmm.
I had migraines at one point, and the migraines went away. I just felt better overall, and
Great.
I felt a heck of a lot better. I feel like it has saved my life, and it's also saved my kids' life. Also, I put them on it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what were the health problems. Your kids were not type 1 diabetic, were they?
No, but I would believe by now they would be because they both had symptoms.
Okay.
For the longest time, and I kept wondering when it would happen. And we've been on the way now for a year and a half. So go ahead.
Before you go on. But just start by sharing where your son's health was at. You said both your son and your daughter were vaccine damaged, and the effect of the vaccine damage to your son was that he was not mentally or verbally up to speed for his age, and suffered from chronic constipation. And you said your daughter she was suffering from chronic constipation, alternating diarrhea and constipation. She was experiencing hair loss and a failure to grow. She was not growing. And so with those were the symptoms they had prior to getting on the whey. And now you could share what happened for both your son and your daughter after they got on the whey.
After I put my son on the whey, he started opening up. I could see he started getting energy, and he started talking to me. He had conversations with me that I could not. I'd never had conversations with him before because he couldn't really speak. And now we can converse. He actually has friends. He actually plays at school. It's actually opened a whole new world for him. I've seen him have more energy than I never knew that he could actually move that way because he was always so tired and worn out. from the vaccines. It just totally wore them out. So after that, I saw such a change that I couldn't believe. I said, I can't be without this stuff. It's awesome.
And so it took about 2.5 months for those kinds of transformations to take place, right?
Yeah, but I didn't give up because I did see small changes, and so I said, you know what, since I was on it for a while before I even got them on it. Mm-hmm. So because I saw what had happened to me, I said, I'm not going to give up on this. Let's just see how far this can go. As a matter of fact, today, they are different kids than they were a whole year and a half ago.
So start now with your, Angie, go ahead and tell us specifically about your daughter's transformation. So where she was at, and then how long she was on the product before the changes took place and what those changes were.
Well, for my daughter, she had problems with her stomach because that came on after the vaccinations.
Specifically, that was constipation, diarrhea, right?
Yeah, that was constipation, diarrhea. I tried to put her on probiotics, but there just wasn't enough happening. I kept thinking, what else do we have to do? And
plus
so
her hair was falling out, you said?
Yeah, she had hair falling out. She was listless. She was lifeless. There were times when I thought, I don't know what to do because they kept saying she's normal. She wasn't, and I knew it. So I kept going, okay, I'm going to try this, and I did. And I noticed within a week her hair was glowing, glistening, soft, shiny, and her nails were getting better. She could speak clear. She wasn't angry. She didn't have, issues with her attitude.
Right.
Which was another big thing with her. She had major attitude problems, and I couldn't understand why she was angry half the time. But the anger went away. She was starting to smile and laugh. We had fun. We played a lot, which really, just like my son, it was like a total transformation.
And then how long before her constipation went away? Was it 2 months, 2.5 months?
Actually, no. It was in like a week.
Wow.
It started changing within a week.
That's huge.
Because it was one of the first things that took place, I think, in her body. It started going away, and it just started healing it. It was taking away toxins and also started healing her gut at the same time.
Yes.
So
now, Angie,
it was amazing.
Stephen, this is evidence to me of the bioavailability of this food, because you're talking about giving it to children who have been damaged. Their guts have been damaged. And the difficulty we all have in healing them is that they can't assimilate much. So you're finding a food that is so basic, so broken down, but yet so retaining its integrity and nutrient density that you can achieve things that are thought to be impossible with just food here. So this is an inspiring story, to say the least. This is why we talk about these things.
Yeah, and the other thing is that it's like the intestinal lining is supposed to be extremely high in glutathione naturally, and you're just simply fueling that process to occur so that not only can you detoxify what may have become embedded in the intestinal lining, such as the heavy metals from the vaccine, but you're also then reducing the inflammation that's going on there so that all the factors about enzyme production and breaking things down and assimilating them can occur.
Correct.
Yeah, Angie, real quick before we have to go to break here, are the kids, when you bring the One World Whey powder to them, or however you do it, do they kind of cringe and run away, or are they embracing it and like it?
Actually, that's the hard part. They like it so much, they fight over it.
I thought
they
so.
actually can't get enough of it.
Yes.
It's always you got more. No, you got more. I mean, they love the stuff. I can't compare it to anything, because you actually pick that over, I don't even know. You could give them a cake, a pie, anything that looks awesome, like candy.
Yeah.
No, they would go for the One World Whey
Nice.
right now.
Oh, this is really a powerful healing transformation, Angie, and I'm so grateful that you'd be willing to share this with my audience, because I want everybody to know the simple things we talk about here are real, and they're real people getting tremendous benefit, and you can do that as well. And Stephen, thank you for bringing Angie on with us today.
Yeah, thanks for being on, Angie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was nice talking to you all.
All right, everybody, check it out, oneworldwhey.com. Check it out, 888-988-3325. The Robert Scott Bell Show continues, bringing the power to heal back to you after this.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. Making sense out of medical propaganda. Here's Robert.
I love doing this radio show every day, 6 days a week. I love it even more when we get to share these healing stories, and Stephen Huer is helping me this hour to do just that. And the simplicity with which food, the appropriate food, the right food, can do miraculous things. And again, the miracle is like, oh my gosh, realizing, yes, food can be our healing medicine. Oh my gosh, yes. And that's why we have Stephen Ewer. That's why we're talking One World Whey. And Stephen, I understand we have Annette on the line. She's also someone that's been helped. I talk to women with menopausal symptoms all the time. And of course, we can go many different ways, but it's amazing how food can also help in these situations.
Yeah, I was really pretty impressed when Annette shared with me her experience. So I'm really glad, Annette, that you've come on. I'd like you to just go ahead and share with listeners, like I said, your age and how long you've been dealing with your menopause symptoms and what that's like, and then what's transformed for you since being on the way and how long it took.
Well, my name's Annette, and I'm 49 years old, and altogether maybe about 2 years of menopausal symptoms. But it started out with really bad night sweats, and I would get that 2 or 3 times a night. And then it dwarfed into like the full-blown hot flashes where that just went on and off all night, and I didn't get any sleep. Like I'd start with one hot flash, and it'd last like a half an hour, and I'd finally cool down, and it'd put a blanket on, and it would come back, and that went on for like a year. And I had to go to work in the morning, and it was very hard because I wasn't getting any sleep.
Sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was looking for something nutritional for my body in a protein way because I work at a physical job, and I figured protein would help me, and I had run across this on the Alex Jones show. So I ordered it because he recommended it, and not for hot flashes, just for healthy reasons. And
right.
And lo and behold, 2 to 3 weeks later after taking it, I completely stopped every symptom of the hot flashes, and I had no night sweats, no nothing. And
wow.
Now, yeah, I sleep free every night, and I sleep very well.
Did you call Alex Jones and tell him he cured your hot flashes?
I think I wrote to their station, but I when I went to order my second tub of it, I wrote in the comments there about it.
That's great.
So that when I reordered it, they knew, at least I left them a comment about what it had done.
Thank you so much for doing that. That's really appreciated. And thanks for sharing that story. You've just inspired a lot of people and a lot of women. You've given them hope and at what might be possible for them too. Thank you very much, Annette.
Yeah, well, I want to add, I was looking for something to stop the hot flashes.
Yes.
Because it was so bad. And, if you're going to be buying something for hot flashes that's not really any good, or you don't know what it's doing for your body, at least in this way you're getting all the nutrition and the protein from this and detoxing, plus you're not getting the night flashes. So you're getting more
nice
for your money, basically.
Oh, man. Awesome. I tell you what, Annette, you are amazing. I appreciate you sharing that story because, as I said, there are a lot of ladies out there that not happy the way you weren't and found corrections through nutrition and the whey protein that is undenatured. So, again, Annette, I appreciate you very much, your willingness to share your story. I know there's going to be some people going, wait a second, it's whey protein. How is it somehow now a cure for menopause? Well, first of all, menopause is not a disease, but we know, Stephen, you know this well, women in North America, particularly because of all the influences and pollutants and such, are dealing with menopause in an unhealthy way. And we've got a lifetime of accumulation of toxins and other things. And I think in this case, my first inclination is to say we were working with some liver congestion because the women that suffer most from menopause are congested in their liver big time. And you're enhancing detox pathways, the glutathione, increasing in production is going to do tremendous things. And it's so simple that it's done through food. So I think primarily the action here was on the liver, which also impacts on the hormones.
Yeah, because you've got the need, your liver's got to produce these compounds to clear out the hormones that have been made and to keep the level optimal and remove what the hormones have already done, and they've done their action. Then they need to be cleaned, removed out. The liver has to filter them out. So that is one aspect of restoring, you could say, hormone balance. The other is that the adrenals are supposed to take over for a woman's estrogen, progesterone, testosterone production.
That's
when
right.
her ovaries go into,
let's say hibernation of some kind.
Yeah, hibernation, exactly.
Yeah.
And so the adrenals are being supported as well by taking One World Whey, by supporting more normal blood sugar, supporting the whole glutathione function. Because basically, if you think about it, every cell of the body, including all the cells that comprise the adrenal glands, have to produce 10% of their protein content is glutathione to function optimally. So we're restoring that aspect as well.
Well, it's a beautiful thing to be able to share these stories, and amazing that they are. We're going to try to fit one more in today on the Robert Scott Bell Show, Special Healing Edition with Stephen Hewer. And, of course, you can find him at oneworldway.com, 888-988-3325. 888-988-3325. And we don't mean to oversimplify things, but the fact is healing, when you step back from it at the level we deal with it, it is simple. It is Hippocratic, so to speak, Hippocrates, going back to the father of medicine to say, let your food be your medicine, let your medicine be your food. Yeah. It's just all the more astonishing when you hear it in real life, because you think about, oh, yeah, that's thousands of years old, ancient history. We like it. We wish it would work. But no, it does work.
Yeah.
You just got to get it and apply it right. And that's what we try to do every day here on the air. And God bless you for helping me to do that.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, when we come back from this, we're going to try to get one more healing story up on the airwaves today, so you can find out the many ways you can be impacted by changing your diet, your lifestyle, and here today, specifically with the undenatured whey protein that we get from One World Whey, right here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Check it out, robertscottbell.com.
The Robert Scott Bell Show. Taking on bureaucrats and corporations that would stand in the way of health freedom. Here's Robert.
Having a great time here sharing the healing stories that are so essential to what I do in my life, what we do here on the Robert Scott Bell Show. Stephen Hewer from One World Whey is on, and we've got one more healing story, Stephen, that we want to share. We talked to someone earlier, Angie, who had type 1 diabetes, but people are going to say, what about type 2? Because that's obviously a lot more common, and indeed this can be of benefit nutritionally for them as well.
Yeah, actually, so I was introduced to Helen Jacobs several months ago, and she has type 2 diabetes, and she shared with me the benefits. First of all, she shared what the miserable experience she had prior to being on the whey protein, what she had to contend with, and then after she was on the whey protein for a little while, the miraculous benefits she got. So, Helen, I'm really glad you could come on and share with others that are in similar situation to you. Please share with everyone what it was like prior to being on the whey protein for you, managing your type 1 or type 2 diabetes, and then what happened afterwards.
I had problems. I had great problems with fluctuation of my glucose levels, and it was. There were times it was high. I didn't know what to do with it, and I got to the point that I was. I said to myself, there's something that is hindering me. And after doing a lot of research, I found out I was lacking protein. And I never thought about it because I'm not a big meat eater. I never have, and I'm still not. And I thought to myself, there's something better. And I was fortunate to listen to Alex Jones' show.
There comes Alex again.
and I heard about the One World Whey.
Yep.
And I just clicked, and I called him, and I spoke to Glenn.
Yep.
And he talked to me about it, and then I talked to you, Steve, in time, but not at first. But I got the One World Whey, and believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, it did a world of difference to me, especially on my glucose levels and managing my glucose. I want you to know that I'm staying now below usually 120, 117, one at the most, as long as I'm below that 200 mark, which with the One World Whey has helped me tremendously.
Helen,
and I would recommend it to anyone.
Helen, if I may ask, how are you taking it? How often during the day?
I use the almond breeze milk.
Okay.
And I take the scoop, not the whole scoop, with my almond milk every morning.
Okay.
Every morning, and then before I go to bed at night, I have about a half of almond breeze milk with like a teaspoon of the whey, and I get up in the morning, and I'm not in that category of 62. And if any of you, those of you that are diabetic, you understand those are extremely low, and it just puts me in a tizzy.
Sure.
But since I've been taking my whey, I get up in the morning and I'm still below that 151.
Well, if we
I'm doing very much better.
Helen, if we add it all up, we could say you're taking the scoop, the whole scoop, and nothing but the scoop. But
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, you're
just the scoop. Yeah.
You're a sweetheart, Helen, for sharing your story. I know it's impacting a lot of people to hear this, because some people just don't believe that eating differently or having a food product that is appropriate can actually have such benefit, but it is everything to us, and we really need to get back to that.
And gentlemen, when it comes to food and so on and so forth, by taking my whey, I find that my digestion is better. I don't have I'm not nauseated. Matter of fact, the whey is so good, I'd just be happy to drink smoothies all day, but I know I can't. Because they're so good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty delicious.
Well, listen, Helen, you're, again, absolute sweetheart. We appreciate you so much, and we were talking briefly off the air. I understand you have a whole backyard full of beautiful azaleas. I want you to go out there.
No. Crepe myrtles.
They were crepe myrtles. Oh, in my own mind, I was going back to my days in Georgia. We had both of them, and I remember planting the little azalea bushes, and we had the pinks and the whites and the reds, and you were telling me all the colors.
We have azaleas in the front yard, but they're not. Their blooming season is in April.
Right, earlier on.
May.
Earlier on.
So,
yeah.
But I want you to know we have crepe myrtles,
and
they are astoundingly. Gentlemen, I do believe that we have a wonderful God that creates everything beautiful.
Yes, yep. Amen to that. Well, Helen, thank you again for sharing, and absolutely loved having you on.
It's been my pleasure, and I hope that I've helped somebody. And any of you out there that's in this diabetic challenge, try it. You'll find out things will improve dynamically for you. Okay?
Thank you, Helen.
Beautiful, Helen. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I have a feeling, Stephen, we could have just turned the whole show over to Helen.
I think so, too. She's got a lot to share, and she's just enjoys sharing her heart's what's on her heart.
She's a real character. She makes me laugh. I just think about all the things I do here on the show. A lot of times I spend covering news stories that are out there in ways that you won't get the kind of coverage and understanding what's happening out in the world. And I'll always pepper these stories with simple things that people can do. But not every time I get a chance to spend an entire hour just sharing stories and having people share their healing stories. And it's something I love. I put out a plea a lot of times for what I call hometown healers or hometown healings. Not everybody has got the courage enough to come on a nationally international show to share. So, Stephen, thanks for hooking us up with those four. And in fact, I got another one. I had Leslie Swan on last week briefly. She was doing something with the 10th Amendment Center, and I had met her in Austin, Texas, and started her on a healing path because she had such gastrointestinal problems. She was incredibly overweight. She was on Prozac, etc., and she's been keeping me apprised over the last couple of years of her progress, and she recently came off of the Prozac after like 17, 18 years. And a big part of her recovery, in fact, was the One World Whey. So it wasn't Alex Jones, it was Robert Scott Bell that got her on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
that's excellent. And she shared that story with me, and I'm excited to share that with others as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking with her more pretty soon. We're arranging it, and her story is amazing, absolutely amazing. But I also want to let all of you listening, you love the Robert Scott Bell Show, and I hope that you love Stephen like I do, and all the people that we bring on, the stories and things we talk about. I just want to let you know very directly that if it wasn't for people like Stephen and One World Whey helping to support this message, we couldn't do this 5-6 days a week, quite honestly. That is the nature of this. And so if you haven't really been stimulated to pick up the phone and call and say thank you at the very least, or even try some, you will be richly rewarded for it, and it helps us to do what we do here. So I'm just grateful for our ability to share these healing stories, because normally you would never hear from these four people, unless you happen to know them already or just bump into them. And how would you know to say, hey, did you happen to have type 2 diabetes, and did you happen to do something nutritional? You just don't do that.
Yeah, no, exactly. It is really precious information, and it really gives people direction to end suffering, and that's what it's all about. I keep saying this, is that as soon as all of us, get happy and healthy, and then happy, the whole society improves, and we get out of this fear consciousness that unfortunately we've been in for so long into a consciousness that anything's possible and that we have the power to create a really, really beautiful, happy world.
Yeah, you said that so well. And not only will you learn about One World Whey, but when you call Stephen Hewer at One World Whey at 888-988-3325, 888-988-3325, loads of other great things that I utilize and believe in, including the knockout pain cream that you've often added into the orders for people has been great as well.
Yeah, that is really nice. I mean, people have been able to get rid of headaches within 10 minutes. They've been able to get rid of their any sore spot on their body pretty much within 10 minutes. It's been a nice product, and it's no oil, no bad smell to it. It dries. It's just easy to apply and use. Beautiful.
Well, Stephen, it's been a great healing hour here, and I know we've got more people that I'll be talking with in the near future. As I said, I mentioned Leslie Swan. We'll have her up soon. In the meantime, like I said, you just keep on rocking the health world in your way. You're doing great work, and we support you here. And you support our efforts in reminding everyone. What do we remind them every hour here on the Robert Scott Bell Show? That the power to heal is yours.
Amen to that, brother. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure, Robert.
The Robert Scott Bell Show.